Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the utterly bizarre and beautiful world of orchids that brilliantly mimic animals. But we aren't just stopping at the visual spectacles. We're going to explore the highly structured global mission that's actively working to save them from disappearing forever. It's an incredible story of evolutionary genius, modern vulnerability, and dedicated scientific rescue.
All right, let's kick things off with a seemingly impossible riddle. What do a flying duck, a bumblebee, and a naked man all have in common? I know, it sounds exactly like the setup to a really strange joke, but in the botanical world, it points to one of the most astonishing evolutionary tricks on the planet.
Believe it or not, they're all masterfully disguised species of orchids. These are actual, living shapes taken by members of the Orchidaceae family. And just for some context, this is the largest family of flowering plants on Earth, boasting over 35,000 species. While you might be used to seeing those standard, pretty pink or white potted orchids at your local grocery store, the reality of this plant family is just so much wilder.
Section 1. Monkeys, ducks, and squids. Astounding mimicry.
Now, what's truly fascinating here is the sheer juxtaposition of their evolutionary traits. We aren't just talking about visual mimicry. We are talking about full-on sensory deception. On one side, you have the monkey face orchid, native to South America. These incredible blooms look exactly like little monkey faces, but to top it off, they give off the distinct, refreshing scent of fresh oranges. Then on the flip side, we have the dove orchid from Panama. It cradles a perfectly shaped tiny white dove right in its center. But ironically, this pristine flower literally smells like a local pub. It gives off the strong scent of beer.
When you map out their native habitats, you start to realize just how globally widespread and highly specialized these quirky plants really are. Over in Australia, you've got Camellia major, which looks exactly like a tiny purple and green duck caught in mid-flight. Australia is also home to the donkey orchid with hanging petals that flawlessly replicate floppy donkey ears. Meanwhile, over in Central America and the Caribbean, there's an orchid that looks just like a tiny green squid swimming through the air, complete with a purple hood and floaty tentacles. The geographical diversity is absolutely staggering.
Section 2. Seduction and Trickery. Evolutionary Strategy.
You see, these plants aren't just wearing fun costumes for our aesthetic enjoyment. They're executing a brilliant Trojan horse strategy. For species like the European bee orchid and the fly orchid, looking like an insect is a matter of life and death. This incredibly specialized look attracts the male bee, who actually tries to mate with the flower. During this totally futile effort, the insect gets completely covered in pollen, which it then carries off to the next deceptive blossom. It's a masterful, though maybe slightly cruel system of guaranteed pollination.
But here is the stark reality. Despite their evolutionary genius and millions of years of adaptation, these plants are facing modern, human-driven threats that they simply cannot trick their way out of. The very specializations that make them so incredible also make them highly susceptible to environmental changes.
Section 3. A vulnerable beauty. Modern threats.
It's a heartbreaking paradox that the world's most unique flora is often its absolute most fragile. The dangers they face today are vast and immediate. Take that flying duck orchid we mentioned earlier. It relies on a super delicate symbiotic relationship with a specific fungus found only in Australian soil. Habitat destruction is wiping that ecosystem out, meaning you can't just uproot these and grow them in a greenhouse. Then there's the incredibly rare ballerina orchid, which grows around just one specific lake in Western Australia, constantly threatened by careless grazing from local rabbits and kangaroos. And perhaps most devastatingly, human obsession is a massive threat. Illegal collection and commercial trade are rapidly depleting wild populations of the famous white egret orchid in Japan and that beer-scented dove orchid in Panama.
Section 4. The Rescue Mission. Global Conservation.
Thankfully, there's a dedicated network stepping in to help. Enter the IUCN Species Survival Commission, or SSC. We aren't just talking about a small club of plant enthusiasts here. This is a massive, science-based network made up of thousands of volunteer experts from almost every country on Earth. Their entire shared vision is to conserve nature by taking concrete, positive action to prevent the loss of our planet's biodiversity.
To save this endangered biodiversity, the SSC relies on a very specific framework called the Species Conservation Cycle. It's a highly structured approach that guides their activities and makes absolutely sure that conservation isn't just a guessing game, but a rigorous scientific process.
By breaking this monumental task down into 3 interconnected steps, assessing, planning, and acting, this network turns what could be a depressing ecological reality into a highly actionable mission of hope. First, you assess to understand the true status of the species. Then you plan inclusive, collaborative strategies based on the science. And finally, you act to mobilize those actual conservation efforts on the ground.
Within this massive commission is the Orchid Specialist Group. This specific strike force consists of 145 volunteer expert members who are laser-focused on the Orchid CA family. Their action plan is incredibly comprehensive. To combat the threats we talked about, they're developing strict codes of conduct for orchid hobbyist societies to actively discourage illegal commercial trade. Because habitat loss is so severe, they're working on scientifically managed ex situ collections, essentially securing a safe future for these plants outside their threatened natural habitats. They're even tracking shifts in plant phenology, meaning the exact timing of when these plants bloom, to make absolutely sure their specialized pollinator insects will still be around at the right time.
750. That is the exact number of global red list assessments the Orchid Specialist Group successfully targeted and achieved by 2025. That means 750 unique species of orchids have been rigorously evaluated for their extinction risk. That's the critical baseline data you need to actually launch targeted rescue operations.
When you look at the stunning resilience of these protected blooms, you're reminded of exactly why this structured conservation matters so deeply. These aren't just plants. They're living, breathing works of art that play incredibly complex roles within our planet's ecosystems. When we lose them, we lose millions of years of evolutionary history.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Knowing the sheer genius and the severe vulnerability of these masterful disguises, what role will we play in protecting the weird and wonderful side of nature? I hope this explainer has sparked your curiosity and really leaves you thinking about how we can support the science and the conservationists working to ensure these marvelous botanical mimics continue their evolutionary dance for generations to come. Keep learning and stay curious.